Oh, I was gonna check my title here and I forgot. Make sure everything is right here. Also, let's see what this does. Okay. Um, oh yeah, that's fine. So we're gonna continue working on this shop that I was working on the other day. A couple things I need to do here is I think I have some updated notes and I have a repository I need to pull in. So we'll grab that real quick. Right here. Grab my code. This will probably we're gonna want to put that on 3, I think. Right, and this is probably where we're gonna put Godot. Nice. Now let's go grab it. I think I did this completely. I went on I spent some time with a friend this last weekend, so I actually worked on a lot of this when I was over there, which is why I wasn't streaming it. I apologize. But let's grab this. Whoopsie daisy. There we go. And then we should be able to import it from here. And then I'll do yeah, I should make this a thing. Oh no. Oh. No server running. Hold on. Did I screw this up? Oh, new session. It's minus D. Oh, I see. Because you have new window and you have new session. That's what I screwed up. It's not just new. That's right. That's right. That makes sense. Should be new session. I thought it was minus S to name it. Let's see. Socket name, socket path. Oh. Okay. So Sokka path, specify fully alternative path to the Sokka server. What did I come up with this minus S for? New session. I want to see what the options are for new session. Here we go. Start directory, environment, flags, format, minus lowercase s for session name. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. I was there. The minus D is what? Dash D. Doesn't even show up here. Oh yeah, there's a dash D here. Refresh, climb, and the new is attached unless minus D is given. Yeah, minus D is detached, I think. Base count DMV haste like what? I don't know, whatever. Not important to what I'm doing right now. Mother, oh, because we gotta actually open it up. Okay. So yes. The other thing I'm gonna do here is git reset. I'm gonna do a soft reset here so that I can go here and see what the changes were that I made. I feel like I somehow had syntax highlighting on my other computer for this. Whatever. So a couple things I'm gonna do. Let's run it, and I'll show you what the issue is. Oh, also that's funny. It's called T. Yeah, that's fine. So let's build and run, which I forgot what the button is. F5 or F6? No, it's F5. Okay, so this is what we got. This is what I did the other day. We were building a shop screen. We just wanted to get an idea of what a shop screen would be like to implement and some of the things that we would encounter. And we did encounter some weird things. Like there's this weird delay when I click on stuff that I still haven't figured out yet. To get around that, instead of using clicking for highlighting things and showing the details up here, I decided to just do mouse over because there's no delay. I'm calling it mouse over, but it's actually called something else in Godot. I think mouse motion is the word. So anyways, we can buy items, which is cool. Right? And unfortunately, oh, that's actually kind of insightful. Wait, hold on. Okay, wait. This actually might be showing me what the underlying issue here is. Also, one of these buttons. There we go. One, two. When I sell it, for some reason it turns into this. So, okay. Right, and then there's an error here. So we can fix this error first. This error happens. Let's go back to Godot real quick and get the file and line number. Happens because we're trying to sell an empty item. Oh, calculated index is out of bounds. This might be the problem. Move at 0. Remove at 1. Oh, okay. I see what we have. We have a sliding index issue. I don't know, there's probably a better, it's probably like a word for this, But basically what's happening is I'm removing something from here, let's say, and then that causes the underlying array to shift everything to the left. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. So when I sell the item in slot 0, it should move down this way because we're doing remove at, and it actually removes the item. So we could do that. This actually introduces an interesting conundrum. Do we basically automatically compress the inventory? So like when you sell this item, all the items slide down, or does it make more sense to keep them where they are and just have like holes in here? That is interesting. It's interesting because the default behavior that we get is gonna make things shift and potentially, yeah. I mean, it's not going to make a huge difference, but the difference is going to be when we add items back. Because when we add items back, we have to account for missing slots here, most likely, and we'll have to do like a linear search for an empty index. Not that it makes a difference because there's only 4 items here. But this is something to consider, right? But let's fix that's a remove sell item. This is the one that we want to fix. Shop screen. I mean, we want to fix both of them, but right now we'll start off with shop screen GD. Now line 30 something ish. Yeah, down here. If not, item data return. We can't sell something that doesn't exist. So that's how we handle that. Right? So that handles one issue, which is basically we go here and we go like this, boom, no error. Now this is interesting. It's interesting because it's updating this one for sure. I don't know if it's updating this one. Doesn't look like it. How much is this? 200? I'm getting 200 back for both of these. Yes. Which means it thinks that this item is in both slots now. Which is crazy. So how do we fix that? Let's go here. So I forget how this works. And I'm going to update my notes here in a bit. What we'll do, let me make this font bigger so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. I will update my class diagram basically after I get everything working to show. We can do like a kind of before and after to see what the chart looked like before we started and then see what it looked like after. And then we can also look at, you know, how things work after to see if there's anything that we can optimize, which I already have some ideas on things that could be quote unquote optimized in terms of how the different classes and nodes talk to each other here. But yeah, okay. So that's one thing down, and then that leaves this, the remove at, right? And so one way to get around this is in inventory.gd, remove at. I think the problem here is that we're removing, right? So one thing we can do, we can try items subscript index equals null and reserve a slot. And like I said before, this would create some bugs that we have to fix too. I just want to see if A, it works, and B, oh, it does work. That was very simple. And now, when I add this, I'm expecting it to appear over here. Ta-da. And the same thing when I buy another potion, it's going to end up over here. Yep. And then, I'm pretty sure I have this hard-coded to 4, so I don't think it's going to add another one. No, it doesn't. Okay. So that's what I thought was going to happen. Now that's one way to fix the problem. The other way to fix the problem is to let the items slot down the way they were doing before and then figure out why it's not updating. Oh, and I know why it's not updating. Okay. So sell item takes item at this position and then update display in the inventory. Update display. Is this not inventory? Oh, right. Because this inventory, that's confusing, is not inventory. It's the inventory display. Right? Update display. It's right here. Oops. And all this is doing, oh no, this should be right actually. Set item data. Oh. Inventory.item subscript I. Why doesn't that work? Okay. So let's do this. Whoopsie daisy. Right. What do we want to say? Items subscript this is equal to oh, that's not gonna work. Oh. Oh, how does that work? Maybe that is how that works. I'm actually confused now. Oh. Oh yeah. We're just gonna do this. Make my life easy. Right, and then we'll go like this. What don't you like? Oh. And inventory.items must be public? Yeah, it is. Which I guess is fine. Set item data. That's the next thing we need to do. So we need to get an item button up here. Set item data. Which is fine. That can be null. If button, that's fine. And I think that's fine also. You know, that's definitely fine because it was working the other way. So I think the issue was something with the model not updating right before coming into here. So let's see if these debug printats give us any information. Oh, we crashed already. It was a little bit sooner than we expected to. My computer's frozen. Let's see what the error is. Ah, out of bounds, get index 1. Oh, fair. Okay, so one thing we can do in my inventory is we can sort of preload our array. So like I guess kind of in a way having a static array would have been a little bit more helpful. Okay. Yes. Hmm. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't help. I think if we're going with this implementation, we don't want it to have things in it because when we append, that's going to screw everything up. So, hmm. Oh, okay. Okay, this makes sense. This absolutely makes sense. I'm bounds checking, and that's why we weren't updating the other items. I have to not bounds check, basically. So if I go like this, let's get rid of this for a hot second. And I was doing this to prevent that error from happening, but what I really need to do is say if I is less than inventory dot items dot size, else null. Right? Something like that. Might be able, can I wrap this? Right? I don't know if I can wrap that. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I think because it's in parentheses is fine. Oh, amazing. Okay, so the null thing does work for the textures. The bug that I was having here of why it wasn't updating is because basically I was adding two things into the array. I was removing one here. Then when I was updating the UI, I was not looping through, I was looping through all of these, but I wasn't updating the UI in cases where the index of the button here was outside the index of our backing data, which was our array. So basically when you sell here, the array count would become 1. The size of the array is 1. So then we would loop through all the buttons, 0 through 3, and then we would get here, this would be 0, then we would go 1, and then we'd say, well, 1, we only have one item. 1 is greater than or equal to the size, and then it would just not update the rest of these UI items, which is not what we want. So this is good. I think I'm okay with having these collapse down instead of holding their positions, because right now I don't think the positions really have any meaning. But in the case where your positions do have a meaning, what you would want to do is have an array, and then basically your array would be a kind of special data structure that instead of appending things to the end, you would have like an insert, and it would insert it into the right spot. Yo, it's been a while. What you do so far? Yo, not much. Took some time off for a bit, but over the past few days, actually kind of time off was over the past few days, still putting in some dev hours, working into a shop. So I thought I could add a shop to my game. So here's a separate project that I put together to implement a simple game shop. And it kind of works like this. And you can sell back the items for the same price that you bought them for, so you can kind of, which I think is actually a good idea. As a potential, depending on how you want to use this in a game, this is just an isolated project. Depending on how you want to use this in a game, maybe then you could flag the item as not sellable after like a purchase phase in your game. And then that would make it so that whatever you buy now is fully refundable until you're positive that you want it, and then you can kind of like lock your selection, so to speak. And then after this screen disappears, basically it would lock all those items as maybe not sellable, or maybe not all of them, but maybe just some of them. And then when you get to the next round, you can't sell everything back. But this is pretty good. It's very basic. It works. Should be able to buy 5 of these. Oh, but I don't do bounce checking on the insert. So that's something. Yeah, I can't get my money back. Wait, hold on. How does that work? Oh, because that still doesn't make sense. How do we lose money? Let me run this through again. I like the art, by the way. Thank you. I made this artwork specifically for this sample project. But then I was like, hey, these actually look kind of good. Maybe I'll throw them in my game. I don't know if my game's going to have potions like this exactly, but we'll see. So hold on, I have 500 gold. I buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. My inventory should have 5 items. Oh, I think I know what's going on here. I do some bounds checking, but I don't check everywhere. So on attempt purchase, we see if the player can spend the gold, but I don't check if their inventory is full. Now what I can do here, I'll add that instead of hard coding it into the shop. I'll say func is inventory full, and I'll return a bool. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I have a constant in here, and we can just keep it in, all the inventory related logic. We can just stick it in here and keep it here. So then that's an extra space I don't need. So I'll go items. If items size is greater than or equal to max inventory size. Wait, why am I saying if? Return. Because what I'm pretty sure I was doing here is saying, yeah, I'm checking the bounds here when adding items, but I wasn't checking if the inventory is full before purchasing an item. And then, we were saying, oh, add the item, but it was silently failing on the inventory add function here. The other way I could have done this, actually, give item. Oh, but this goes, so give item goes to player state, which is a separate class. And then give item doesn't return a value. We would have to go here and say bool, and here and return. So the other way to do this, which I might actually like better, instead of, I don't know. Instead of checking it up here, I could check it down here. I'm thinking because spend gold will spend the money if we have it. give item will give the item if we have space. So like I could change this to like, hey, and, right? Basically if, whoops. Why don't you like this? Oh yeah, right? So this makes it, you know, if we can spend gold and give the item, then do this. Update player goal, update display. I think this probably has to happen either way. Right? Otherwise, we would have to undo it, which I actually don't like. So we're going to just check it before doing things. So basically, one way is we would do, we should be still checking probably, but yeah, okay. And so then the other problem that we have here, is I don't have a reference to the inventory. So I would have to do, this is like something else that we would have to bubble up to player state, and we would have to say function, you know, is inventory full? Bool. Return inventory dot is inventory full. Well, that's what I'm weighing. Why don't you just check if the inventory is full before spending? So that's what I'm weighing, right? Basically, my give item and my spend goal have this. They both have like results that they return. Actually, is that true? Spend gold. Yeah. They both have results to check. But it kind of doesn't really make sense. But this kind of goes back to like the old, you know, functions should only do one thing. So if I'm like mutating state and returning something at the same time, it's a little bit of a code smell. And that's probably why it's weird, because then you end up in that situation where, okay, if we do this, then we have to have a way to reverse it after, which is crazy. But that's fine. But here we can just say players state is inventory full. And player state dot spend. You know. Like it really should be it probably should be two separate functions. I usually wouldn't write stuff like this. I was kind of vibe coding a little bit the other day. I wanted to try out you know, AI. Every once in a while I like to test AI to see what it can come up with. And like each part of the stuff that it came up with seemed pretty okay. But some of the stuff that it ended up, like the way things connect together, I'm like a little bit like, So I am going to go do like a pass over this. The whole idea of this concept of making this in a separate project was to kind of work out some issues of the shop, you know, by itself in isolation, where I could understand what the problems are that you come up with as you implement something like this. I kind of have a good feeling. I mean, this is pretty good though, what we have so far. So and the other thing that I would do here differently in a production system here, we would check if the inventory is full. Actually, we would do these instead of anding these the way it is here. We would probably do these separately. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other way I was thinking about maybe doing this just now, which is why I kind of stopped talking in the mid sentence. We could have a function that maybe it would be a function of the shop screen that would be like, can player purchase? that would encapsulate these two things and return a result, which would be like an enum. And that enum would be like, inventory is full, like success, or, two error cases, success or error, inventory full, error, not enough gold. And then those would return a result, and that would just say like, if, not success, then show an appropriate error message. But the other way to do that would be to separate these things into two different if statements and then just show the error messages right here. Either way is fine. Might be a little bit more straightforward not to do that. But that is another way to do it, to have a result that gets returned. The place to do that would probably be here. Well, okay, so let's test this out. This should now work. It should not let us spend all 500 if we go like this. Nice. Very cool. Okay, the other thing, so there's two other things that we need to do here. So one is, it does work as far as I know. Maybe not. Oh, that's why. So it does work with the keyboard, which is what I wanted to check. But the other thing that I wanted was I wanted to have the keyboard and controller navigation. I wanted it to restrict it to like this side of the screen or that side of the screen. And then you would have two different states where you'd have like, okay, buy state would be here and sell state, the focus would be over here. Now mouse, it doesn't matter because I can just click, 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 click. But for controller navigation, I thought that would make more sense. So that's the next thing I'm going to try to do here. And then we'll add, error messages with the polish. Figure out how to show error messages, which I haven't actually done before, which is crazy. So this works basically, which is cool. And let me just double check what I had here. Yeah, so this whole commit is going to be adding this cell logic. Yes, because we didn't have it before. See the new signals added here? Perfect. Yeah, this give item thing, we're going to clean this up after. I'm going to remove some of these. I'm going to remove these results. Right? Functions shouldn't do two things. It's just weird. Right? Okay. So this is going to be a new commit. Shop. Snop? No, shop. Add. Item sell back. Sell back? I don't think sell back is a real word. Maybe we can hyphenate it. Items can be sold back to the shop for a full refund. Way more descriptive. And now we're going to push it and we're going to just clobber whatever was there. Okay. So what did I say the next thing was going to be? I said something. Oh, the controller thing. So let me just write down what's going on in my brain. New note for today. Item shop. Go. And then I'll say implement lock keyboard controller navigation to left, right, buy, sell sides of the screen, and add error messages, and then clean up bool returning functions like spend money. And then the other thing I wanted to do is maybe remove wallet, maybe combine wallet with inventory. That's kind of how it is in my actual game. And then the other thing is we want to chart the new class structure. And then the other thing is maybe simplify signal communication. Signals or class communication. Okay, cool. Okay, these are the things we want to do. These should be items. That's not how you do that. That's also not how you do that. Sir, oh wait, paragraph task list. It's not gonna tell me what the button is for it though. Check. Ah, L for list. Okay. All right, so these are the things we're gonna work on today. Let's get to it. And then the other thing that we got done today, right? Basic cell functionality. Okay, very cool. I gotta pull my notes from my my other computer to update, to be able to update the notes here with our diagrams, because I did do some extra note taking and diagramming on my other computer, and the notes aren't synchronized right now. Okay. Cool. So the question is, I guess there's probably something in here, like in inventory. There's probably something I can do. What is inventory? It's just a container. But if I go to... Oh, why is my inspector over there? Who put you here? Get over there. Right? And what we want to do is look at focus mode. Behavior recursive. Okay, hold on. Determines which controls can be focused. Only one control can be focused at a time. And the focus control will receive keyboard and GUI input. Will determine focus none. You cannot grab, the node cannot grab focus. Use with focus mode. Oh, they're all gonna say use with focus mode. Okay. It's because it's just an enum. Focus click. The node can only grab focus on mouse clicks. The node can grab focus on mouse click using the arrows and the tab keys on the keyboard, or using the D-pad buttons on the gamepad. Focus accessibility. The node can grab focus only when screen reader is active. So this is gonna be tricky, I think, because we might be stepping on Godot's built-in functionality. And what's behavior recursive? Determines which controls can be focused together with focus mode. So let's just try changing this. I'm pretty sure this means the container itself though. So if they click, it's probably going to screw things up, but let's just see how things get screwed up. I forgot I have this. So when you mouse over it, yeah, there's nothing, nothing locking it in place here, right? It might mean literally rewriting the, like the focused next and previous and neighbors and stuff like that. It might just mean manually doing that, which would be a pain in the butt, and I wouldn't want to do it. So let's look this up real quick. Why am I? Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. Sorry, I forgot how this works. Internet. Dev stream, let's go. We're gonna say Godot. Restrict focus. Restricting focus on a control and its children can be achieved through several methods. The most direct approach is to use focus mode property of a control node. Oh. Right. Okay, sorry. So, yeah, duh, I'm stupid. So, hold on. So, here's how we're going to test this out real quick, and then I have an idea how this might work. So, this is probably the simplest way to do this. I was thinking there might be something that we just switch on. That would have been really easy. But what we can do instead is we can grab these, right? I can grab all these buttons and I can say focus. And we can say mode none. Wait, why doesn't that work? Because they're already focus mode none. That's crazy. Wait a minute. The default was none. Oh, maybe because if I go into item button, the focus on this is none because it's a panel, but the focus on this is going to be all. Yes, that is tricky. That's tricky because I can't override them here. No, we can. We can do it if we want to. So here's what I'm gonna do. My item button, which is this file, we're gonna add something. And we're gonna say export var is focusable. And we're gonna say pressed, set selected, focus, grab focus. Where does focus get used? On focus. Oh, okay. Oh, butt cheeks. Ah. What I want. I don't think I can have. Maybe. What I want is something like a property observer where when this is focusable changes, that we can change the underlying focus mode between all and none. Right? But for now, if not is, well, no, we're just going to say focus mode equals focus. How do I change this? Oh, control dot focus none. Love autocomplete. Okay, if not is focusable, else control dot right? And again, this is just a cheap cop out as a quick thing. These are all gonna be, well, let's change the default to on. And when I go back here, I'm gonna change all of these to off. And I pressed the wrong button. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna try and see, that's a weird one. Now nothing can be focused. Now only these work. It's the opposite of what I wanted. Hold on a minute. Oh, is my logic backwards? Focus mode equals control. Oh. Sorry. Somehow that screwed things up though. Yes. See, now when I go to the right, it gets stuck. Yeah, and the only reason why that works is because clicking sets the focus mode. And so what I would have to do here, see, I feel like this is kind of okay, but let me look this up real quick. There is a thing, Godot property observer. I don't know what it's called. I think it might be a computed property or something. These are all Swift terms, but let's just see. Observable properties. Set get. There's a new way to do this though. I'm Yeah, I forget what they call it. Um, it's gonna take a billion years. Oh, there we go. Assign named functions or do it inline. This looks wacky as shit. Yeah, because I don't need a stored property behind it. I just need it to change the underlying property here. So maybe like this. I thought it would have been like this. Maybe. Unexpected indent. Okay. And I don't really What? I only need to be able to change it, I believe. Is it gonna work? Oh. Nope. We already crashed. Invalid assignment of property key focus mode with value of type int on base of type nil. Can I do this? No. I mean, that's fair. I don't need this to be exported per se. Because the problem is button's not there yet. But if I do this and say if button, it'll work, but it's not gonna work, right? Because it's not doing it here. And then I would need to create a backing property, which would almost defeat the purpose of it. And then the return actually could be term button dot focus mode control dot focus. Actually, no, not equal to focus none. Right? The other way to do this is to just write a function. Maybe take out this export thing. I mean, the export thing more or less served its purpose for me to test whether or not this would work. And it seems like this is a viable approach. So I might stop trying to force the @export and just go ahead and make my own thing. So remove the export. Right? Right. Because having it export is not going to do anything unless we use it. Unless, you know, our object is ready when it's ready, basically. And it's not going to be. Because we can't export and be on ready, right? Let me just see. Right? Because those don't make any sense. Because it's never going to be on ready when it's exported. Actually, wait, hold on. On ready will set the default value after export takes effect and will override it. On ready will set the default value after export. Oh, so yeah, so it doesn't make sense to use both. So we just go like this. It'll just be a regular property that we can't set. We can only use it programmatically. And then the next thing is my my shop screen is gonna have to have different modes. Kind of like a state machine. Literally a state machine. And a mode's gonna be buy and sell. And then what I'm gonna want is buy buttons and sell buttons, basically. And when we're in buy mode, we're going to make all the buy buttons focusable. And when we're in sell mode, we're going to make all the sell buttons focusable. So how do we do that? Shop inventory. So shop inventory is what? Look at my hierarchy here. Shop inventory is here. Shop inventory has item row and shop inventory has inventory. So I need to make sure that my shop inventory has a way to access all of its buttons. Which would be in inventory display, right? I wish I could see what script it is. Yeah, shop inventory.gd. Okay. So we have item button, we have shop screen. Let's open up shop inventory. And this is where we have inventory. Func get inventory buttons. Or maybe just get buttons. We'll return an array of controls. Return get children. I guess technically they're nodes. Expected return. Oh. Right. So an array of nodes, return get children. Then in here we have mode buy and sell. Then my player inventory. Now my inventory display. Let's go in my other tab here. Inventory display. And then this one could be shop inventory. Because this one's also going to need a way to get the... Yeah, we just use get children here. I'm gonna keep it like this, even though I could just get children. We're going to abstract this, put this function kind of in the middle, just in case we decide to change the way this inventory display works for some reason. If we add other controls to it, this will give us a function that we can just update later, and the caller won't have to be updated. So even though we can call this on the outside as get children, if the structure, the node structure of this node changes later down the line, it won't matter. We'll just update this function instead of updating the caller to use this function and then create this function. I mean, we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but this is okay, I think. It'll make the diff smaller in the long run if things change. And if not, it's not, you know, terrible to have one extra function here. Okay. So we're going to have func switch mode. It's going to be new mode. And what's this going to do? I'm trying to think if I need to worry about what's what. No, I don't. Like if I need to maintain what the current mode is, I don't think so. So we're going to do switch mode, new mode, and then we're going to say if new mode is equal to buy. That's not how that works. Then we're gonna, when it's buy, we're gonna go to inventory buttons, shop inventory, inventory, player inventory menu, inventory. Okay. Player inventory menu, inventory, sick. So we're going to say inventory dot get buttons, or button in inventory get buttons. When it's buy mode, we're going to say button dot is focusable is false. Then we're going to say for button in shop inventory dot get buttons, and there's going to be some repetition here. I might be able to find a pattern here. Oh, I think I just found it. So there is a pattern here. Yeah, we can remove this outer if statement, and we can just go here, and we can say button that is focusable. And what I'm gonna do here, inventory. Oh. No. Player button. Wait, hold on. Sell button, that's a better name. This is gonna be buy button, right? Is focusable. So sell button is going to be focusable when new mode is equal to mode.sell, and the buy button is going to be focusable when new mode is equal to mode.buy. See? And instead of creating basically an if statement with two branches and identical double for loops, we just did it with two for loops and no duplicate code. It's a little bit cleaner, you know. It's like this function, even though these for loops are one-liners basically, they're still 2 lines of code each. So 2 lines of code plus the 1 line is 4, 5. So we'd have 10 lines of code instead of this function being 5 lines of code. It literally doubles the size of the function because we have, you know, double branches in our if statements. So, you know, it's a little bit nice thing, yeah. And then let's go here and on ready. Ready. What we probably want to do is say switch mode on ready to mode.buy and have that be the default. And then what I need to do is I need to have a button to switch between buy and sell mode. Yeah. Now the thing that this is gonna break by doing this is it's gonna break my mouse. And so we're gonna want a way that when there's mouse movement, everything is unlocked. So maybe, right. We'll do that in the next one. I have ideas. We'll do that in the next one. Let's get this working. I don't want to add complexity before I have something that works. And we already have a bug. Non-existent get buttons. Inventory display. Interesting. Oh, shop inventory. It's not inventory display. No, wait. This is inventory display. And it has a oh. Typo. Easy peasy. Nope, we got another one. Hot on the bug market today. Is focusable. Okay, invalid assignment of property is focusable on value of type bool. What? Well, with value of type bool on basic object of type hbox container item row. Oh. Because which is the one with item row? Shop inventory? Shop inventory is not implemented, right? See, so it's not. This is the one that was supposed to be different. This is the one that should be inventory dot get children. That should be okay. It is okay. So keyboard navigation is locked. Only thing is, I didn't actually add a button to come over here. So let's add a button for that in a project, project settings, input map. I'm going to say switch, new action, switch shop mode. Add it. And then we'll make that tab. I don't know. Yeah, never mind. Tab already does this. I mean, we can stop that from happening. But I'll change the key for now. I'm trying not to override any default behavior just to reduce the possibility that some default behavior is not overridable or that it might be interfering with what we're trying to do. You know, the system wants to go left and we're saying, no, go right. And then, but the system keeps going left and we're going to be kind of stuck in the middle, right? And yeah, that does nothing because we didn't make it do anything yet. Don't know. There we go. So now what we're going to do is in the shop screen, I guess in our process method, we'll add a process method. And in here, we're going to say if action dot, what the heck is it again? Oh, geez. Input dot is action just pressed switch shop mode. Is that what I called it? Oh, this, yeah, so we do need Kaka. We do need a backing property for this so that we can toggle it from one to the other. Is there a way that we can not do that? We can, yeah, we can kind of query. We can query one of our buttons and use that for the state. It's a little bit kind of witty. I don't know. So basically we would say something like, okay, well, inventory dot get buttons subscript 0 that is focusable is cell mode, right? And then we would say if is cell mode. Oh no, we would just say switch mode. And we say mode.buy if is cell mode, else mode.sell. Basically. What do you not like? Delta's never used. That's true. We're not planning to use Delta. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Oh. Switch shop mode. So that's right. just for debugging purposes. Shop screen process to give a class and a function. And then let's see what happens. I don't know. Okay, so here focus is working. And I press the B key. And nothing happens. Oh, I guess last time it was just freezing. Okay, well, let's see what happened. Oh, it never went into that function. Why did it not go into that function? So process might not be the right place to do this, is the other part of it. Is action just pressed? That's a good sign. So input is action just press switch shop mode. I just want to make sure I spelled that right. Oh, I have it on the S key. That's weird. Oh, right, for sell. Oh, it helps if you press the right button. Oh, that did something. So let's see. The logic here is working. All right, get rid of that. The logic here is working because it's toggling 1 0 1 0 1 0. Switch mode to 1. So mode is cell. Cell is mode 1. That's right. So that is right. The thing that is not right is probably this. Cell button is focusable. Ah. Then we go var button to focus equals inventory.get buttons sub 0 if new mode equals mode.cell, else shop inventory.buttons 0 buttons. Now this is like really weird and hacky, but we're just gonna see if this works. What's my warning? Oh yeah, you gotta use it. And now we're gonna say button to focus dot grab focus. And that might be it, because might not be enough to just turn it on and off. We also have to like set focus to a button. No, apparently that wasn't it. So what is going on here? So clearly disabling the shop mode is working. Enabling right? But enabling the inventory buttons does not necessarily seem to be working. So what is get buttons getting? It's going to be inventory display. Inventory display. That should be fine. Right. Actually, it's definitely fine, because if it wasn't fine, this is focusable as a property that I created. This would be saying, oh, trying to change, is focusable with type boolean, and that doesn't exist, right? So it's not doing that, which tells me it's going in here. Try to change focus before ready. I'm not getting that message anywhere, but I bet if I go here, right, just to prove that it's working, we'll say button. I want to use item data, but to give me an idea of what button it is. Let's start without it. Button is focusable. Which isn't going to tell us much, but I just want to see, it should print out, oops. We have 3 items in our shop, so it should print out, actually I think it goes to the sell buttons first. It should print out 4 of these, setting it to true, and 3 of those setting it to false is what we're expecting to happen here. And we have 4 of those set to true and 3 of those set to false, which is exactly what we expected. And then button to focus dot grab focus inventory get buttons right, or shop inventory. So I think this is right too, because we want to get our first inventory button. Also, by the way, this is very sloppy. Like I said, this is just to see if this will work. But if this does work, what I'll probably do is create a function like get button, essentially. Or this is actually, in this case, inventory to get buttons. Yeah, no, because get buttons returns an array. I was gonna say we could do inventory dot get child, but no. I mean, we can, but I'm trying to avoid doing that. Trying to have an interface in between. And then was saying, right, if mode equals cell, else go with this shop inventory first button, which means that we're buying it. I mean, it's possible that I have this wrong. Let's just reverse it real quick. I'm pretty sure the logic there is right, but something's not working, right? Yeah, so this is, this part is right, so something else I'm doing is wrong. Something that we can also do here, I don't know if it's because we're not grabbing focus properly. Ah. Oh, that's not going to help us. So what I am going to do here is go like this. So nothing happens here, but what we can do here is go back in here. Godot does not like i3 at all. What I want to do here is look at the remote tree and see if we can figure out what's going on. Now, it kind of sucks because I don't have it exported anymore. I mean, maybe I could just export it again for debug purposes. Oh, it doesn't matter because I can see the entire thing. So is focusable on inventory is false, like it should be. And then presumably the focus under control. God, everything's expanded. Focus mode is set to none like we expect it to be. But now when I go here, these, oh, focus mode all, focus mode all. It actually is setting focus mode like it should. Is focusable. So these properties, the properties are right. So then why? I know why. I know why. I'm calling the wrong function. I'm calling grab focus, but I'm calling grab focus on this button. And this button is a panel which cannot get focus because the focus mode is none. I created my own method called focus to get the focus. I really wish I could kind of override the default grab focus so that, you know, the code makes sense when you look at it. But unfortunately I can't. And there we go. Now we have our two states. Look at that. Now I just need a way. Right, to undo that with the mouse. That's pretty cool. So we have that in place. Let's take a look at the changes we've made here. Item button. I'm gonna remove some of these debug prints because they are getting a little bit crazy. Okay. Shop. Add buy sell mode for controller navigation. It would be great, like if here, when I go to the end, I would love the next one to loop back to the beginning, which I could probably set. I could probably set manually, but is there a way to do that automatically? Focus. No. I guess not. I guess you, when you create the nodes programmatically, you manage their pointers. That's probably how you do that. That's fine. And then let's go here. So the other way I was thinking about doing this, mode buy versus sell. So there's two ideas I came up with in the back of my mind while I was working on this just now. The first is that we keep it to two modes the way that it is. But whenever I mouse over here, these buttons, whenever I mouse over this, I automatically set the mode. And then when I mouse over here, I automatically set the other mode. I think that's the simplest way to do it. The other way I can do it is set focus mode all, but then that actually changes it so that you can, you know, focus everything. And then I would have to make it so that the keyboard, touching the keyboard would undo that. So let's keep it the implementation I have and just add a mouse motion on top of it. I don't remember how to do that off the top of my head, so we're going to look that up. Ask a follow-up question, sure. How do I implement a mouse motion method in on a node. So I'm thinking, while this thing is thinking, basically, how do I do this? Okay, so if I want to do what I said and leave the enum at only 2 modes, then I'm going to have a way to communicate up from the button when you mouse over it, right? Which kind of sucks. I would have to write a signal for that, and that signal would have to communicate up. We already have signals. We already have a signal for mouse motion. We already have that. Beautiful. I can just do it. This is what I wanted. That or this. To detect motion on a node, use this. For control nodes, use GUI input event instead, which only receives the input when the mouse is over the node. This is what we want. GUI input is mouse motion. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to add that to my item button. And then what we're going to do here, item selected. Why don't you like that? How is that not? Oh, you got to spell it right. It's the second time I had an error today due to bad spelling. Item selected dot emit item data, and then what we're gonna have to do, item selected. We already subscribe to this signal somewhere. So where do we subscribe to this signal? Where do we connect it? Oh right. Oh right. Shop inventory does it to set the item row to the right item, which is arguably a bug that we mouse over the sell items and it shows it on the left side of the screen, but that's fine because maybe you want to know which item you're selling. So maybe that's okay. So on shop item selected, yeah, I can use this signal, but I don't want to use this signal because if I use this signal every time we do a keyboard or a controller left and right on one of the item buttons, it's going to reset the mode. Right? It's going to change the buy and sell mode. The only way that I can use this without it freaking out and, you know, changing the mode of all the buttons every single time we do that is if I keep track of the selection mode and I don't do an update unless we should. Which is maybe okay. It's kind of an argument for why you might want to keep track of what that selection mode is. It's a fairly good argument because then I don't have to add more signals. The other thing is then I would have a signal that's dedicated to mousing over. versus this. I don't really see a strong argument one way or the other. So we're going to just go with tracking the state of the mode manually like this. And then that changes switch mode. If new mode is not equal to mode, no, sorry. Basically like that. And then item selected is it's not subscribed to in this scope. So the problem here is I'm gonna have to connect a lot of signals, which is kind of an argument for having a signal bus for this. Now a signal bus, I don't have to make a global signal bus that's like every signal in the game. I could create a shop signal bus that is just signals that are shared by just the shop related classes, and that would just make it easier to noodle about with the signals and slots. I don't know if they're called slots actually. I just call them slots on my own. I don't know what they're called in Godot. Right? I mean, it's not the worst, but I don't know what the overhead of a single dot connect statement is compared to like that's because that's really the difference in having the signal bus versus having classes talk to each other one to one, or not really one to one, but one to many. I just meant like one on one, right? So each one of my buttons will have to have a signal that goes to my shop screen if I keep things the way they are. If I make a signal bus, they all use the same observer and the same communication. They all use the same stream, basically. I'm trying to think of reasons why we wouldn't want that, reasons why we might not want that. Maybe we don't want every button to communicate to the same thing, right? Like the same parent. In this case, we do. But maybe there's a case where, for example, if I go back here and let's say like right now when you hover over these, this will update. But maybe there's an implementation in the future where, well, when we hover over these, maybe just a little box comes up over here as you hover that has the item information, and you don't want this to update. In which case, if we use the same select signal, that would emit to this little overlay box. It would also emit to this one. That would be the disadvantage, is that it's kind of the same thing as having the disadvantage of a global scope. More things are aware of what's going on. So it's just scope management, right? And then for the other downsides, again, I don't know what the complexity of connecting, N buttons to the shop screen versus using a single signal. But it would be, it's probably more or less the same, because it would be one signal with N buttons instead of N buttons with N connections. So maybe it is a kind of significant difference. Again, whatever the overhead of the connection is. Let's ask AI. Go away. What is the overhead of a single signal.connect um, instruction. Is it better for complexity? Is it better to have a single signal in a signal bus, or should each object instance have its own separate signal connection? That is a loaded question. The overhead of Signal Connect is minimal, but emitting a signal with one connection is about 3 times slower than a direct function call. However, this cost is generally negligible, around 2300 signal emissions per millisecond on typical hardware. Use a signal bus, global singleton when many objects need to communicate across distant parts of a scene tree. It reduces coupling and simplifies connections. Use direct connections for simple localized communication, example UI updates from a nearby node. Prefer a signal bus when avoiding deep connection chains or frequent cross-scene communication. Direct connections are fine for small-scale, predictable interactions. That's pretty good. That's kind of what I was thinking anyways, right? Because this is the problem that I had with the way my signals were set up before, is like, hey, if I have like a grandchild node and I want that to talk to its grandparent node, then I would have to emit that signal to the parent, and then the parent would also have to connect and relay that to its parent. And now you've got a signal chain going, right? Versus letting the grandchild speak directly to the parent. That actually sounds like pretty sound advice. Just let the grandkids talk to their meemaws and pop-pops. I don't know. Brilliant. Let's see what this says. When not to use signals. If you got some experience with Godot already, you should have seen quite a few use cases for signals. Here we're going to talk about when not to use them. In the team, we apply some rules of thumb to keep the code connections manageable. We avoid bubbling signals too many times. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is to say re-emitting a child's signal from its parent or owner. Let me make this bigger and full screen. We avoid using signals if we need more than 2 or 3 steps to connect the source signal to its target. That's fair. So their number is 2 or 3, more than 2. So that means 3 or 4, which is fair. So that's to say bubble it once or twice, but never 3 times, if I'm understanding the way they're writing this. Avoid bubbling signals. Sending signals to nodes in a distant node branches can make it hard to track down the connection in the code. Depending on your scene structure, you may need to bubble up the signal. That is to say, to have parent nodes re-emit and forward a signal from a child node. And you end up having to open 3 or 4 files just to follow the connection's path. Imagine a game where the player character has a health node to represent and manage his current health. In the user interface, a bar named UI Life Bar displays the stat's current value. So we've got a health node over here as a child of player. And then we have a UI Life Bar over here. Ah, yeah, fair. And they're saying to bubble this to that, you'd have to go up, up, up. Right, you'd have to go up, 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 and then game would have to re-emit this. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Every time the health changes, you want to update the bar, but you don't want to store a reference to the health on the life bar, which would be tightly coupling the 2 objects. Instead, you would want to use a signal to notify the bar when the health changed. But in the scene above, the nodes are distant from one another. You can also see that health is encapsulated in the character scene that's saved in the level scene. In the simplified scene tree above, it looks like you could just connect the nodes in the editor. But imagine it's a real world project with hundreds of nodes where it's not so simple. In that case, to keep the code flexible, you may want to think of forwarding the signals like so. Health, health change, character health change, game health change, exactly what I was just saying. That's 3 emissions and connections to track down. Instead, you could use one of the following alternatives. Pass the life bar reference to the health node via a function call, but only for a one-time setup and connecting the signals. The UI shouldn't store the reference. That way coupling stays low. You can use an events singleton that serves as a global signal bus. You'll find a dedicated guide in the design pattern chapter. Avoid connections with too many steps. When you need many steps to connect two nodes, like passing a reference around several times, you get an issue similar to the previous one. While you don't need to open multiple files to track down a single emission, you still need to track down the initialization and connection. When that is the case, you can favor the second solution mentioned above over the first one, using a global events singleton that any node can connect to in one step. Another option is to use the physics engine to detect interactions. The area nodes are great to detect when two objects enter in contact in the game world using their body entered and area entered signals. Yeah, this is very familiar. Collision shape and hitbox. The groups feature can also be a helpful tool. Yeah, that's true too. You can group things. What was I doing? Why was I looking at this? Oh, yeah. I actually thought about doing this too. So the other way I could have done this is instead of like creating those methods like I did, I could create groups and then we can just go down the entire scene tree and get the groups. Actually, wait, is that how that works? Maybe. Yeah, get nodes in group. No, that gets the nodes in the group. Oh, yeah, from a tree. You want to know? Okay. You get a reference to each of them and connect their signals. Yeah, I don't know how this works under the hood, but presumably it would be an effective way where maybe it stores a reference to the group, and so it gets the nodes from the group instead of going down the entire tree, right, and doing it recursively. It would maybe go get them from the group first and check if they're a child of the node that we're checking, which would still require it to go up. So I don't know if that's any better. I don't know. At GD Quest, we use signals mainly in two cases. When we need another node to react to a specific one-time event, for example, a took damage signal, and when we need a UI element to constantly update based on the game entity value changes. Most of the time, we don't want the UI to store a reference to nodes in the game world, and directly access their properties. Keeping track of signals. The number of signal connections will grow with your projects. How do you keep track of them? We need to track down a signals connection. When we need to track down a signals connections, we search the code base with a text search tool. We use something like a command line program like grep to search the scene files on top of scripts. Ideally, we would have a tool that draws a diagram. Unfortunately, we don't have that at the moment. Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's kind of the purpose of the diagram I was going to draw. But it's manual, so it's not, I can still make mistakes when drawing that diagram, but the idea of drawing that diagram would be to see how my signals are connected. And basically, the more complicated that diagram looks, the more there's a good argument for like reducing the number of signals and, simplifying the way that classes communicate with one another. With the guidelines above, by following other object-oriented design principles, we tend to encapsulate signals inside of scenes, limiting the map and track around the project. Also, game code changes a lot. There's another reason we don't bother creating a diagram of signal connections by hand. Yeah, right, because it changes too much. Kind of like what I was saying. But in my case, I'm just using it to illustrate, illustrate what I have and see what I can, to see what I can improve. Oh, look at that. That's cool. You should dictate ready code for the most part, and because the game's design changes a lot, code change through the project. Because of that, you can't strictly plan your code structure ahead of time. Keeping track of all signal connections without a good tool to automate that process could waste time. If we had a good tool to generate dependency diagrams, as you can find in more mature ecosystems, we'd certainly use it, or we could make one. Most of the time, we found that we only took a look at one or two to fix a specific bug. Emitting signals every frame. One of you asked us if it was fine to emit signals every frame, like that, performance-wise. In cases shown in the course where we do that sparingly, it is. In the JRPG series, we emit a signal every frame on the battlers to trigger an update in the user interface. This signal aims to help decouple the turn bar from the battlers. In the code, you can destroy the battler nodes and the signal connections would automatically be cut. You're unlikely to hit a bottleneck with those kind of signals. In GD script, emitting a disconnected signal barely costs more than a function call. When connected to one node, emitting a signal plus its callback costs a little over 3 times slower than a direct function's call. Oh, this is probably where AI got those numbers from. It's even less of a concern when you consider the tools at your disposal to only process these entities on screen. These include functions like set process and blah blah blah, for instance. While you could imagine a case where you have thousands of them, as in a heavy city builder or simulation game, you wouldn't continuously emit signals anymore. Instead, you would most likely need a more fitting code architecture involving some heavy engine customization. This was a great read, by the way. I'm going to take that and throw that in our notes. Well, I said when to use signals, but it really should be signal. I have a habit of hitting my close tab button because on macOS it deletes one word and on Linux it closes the whole window. Very, very, very different functionalities. Okay. It's getting hot in here, so take off all my sweatshirt. I don't know why I didn't just take that off like a normal person, but you know, whatever. Sometimes it's just like that, and this is still bothering me, and I'm still probably gonna have to get up, fix this. Ugh. Let me get up for a quick bio break. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Is my ad done? I don't know. I played an ad on Twitch. For those of you watching on Twitch, because there's nothing else for you to watch, so why not? Looks like it's done. Okay. So we were rabbit holing something. Did we commit this yet? Oh, yeah, we were trying to figure out how to get these two things talking. And I decided, hey, what the heck, we'll just do this and emit from the button. But when we emit from the button, we got to go multiple places now. So actually, hold on, let me just see. Maybe that connection actually isn't even there that I'm complaining about. It isn't. It is not there. Ah, see? See? Okay. Okay, this is the benefit of having that scoping, like I said. So, now maybe I knew that. I knew that. This is not connected to this because we're not using a global signal bus to emit this event. Otherwise, this would connect to the global signal bus and it would pick up on the events of this mouse over, which we could want maybe, but we don't necessarily want. So right now they're a bit more scoped. So I need to communicate this to the shop class, and the shop class has to communicate. No, that's it. That's the end of the line. The shop class only needs it, basically. So let's go here to shop screen. So in order for me to connect those signals, I have to get those children. And I gotta go inventory.get buttons. To say for button in inventory.get buttons, button.connect. Oh, let's give this a better name. Cell button. It's a great name. Cell button dot connect on cell button hovered. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, no, that's right. Selected. Cell button dot item selected dot connect. What don't you like? Yeah, that makes sense. And we'll add here to the bottom function on cell button selected. And we don't use the item data. But we'll say switch mode code.cell. Then I'm going to need a on by button selected. Item data. This will duplicate code, but give us separate code paths. The other way to do this would be to have a single function and then to add a new mode. And I just go here and say new mode. Oh, yeah, because it's not called item mode. It's just called mode. And then what we're going to do in here is dot bind mode.cell. that not right? I'm missing a parenthesis. No. Oh. And then I'm going to do the same thing here for buy button in shop inventory dot get buttons buy button dot item selected dot connect. There might already be a connection for this though. No, because that goes to the parent. Item button selected dot bind mode dot buy. So yeah, we have to create all these connections, but that's the way it goes, I guess. And let's see if that works or that just buggy shit. Oh, it works because I'm amazing. There might be a little bit of a delay though. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. Can't tell if the delay is from my window manager or from the game. Yeah, it seems like it's gone now. Oh, no, I see what the problem is. That's what the problem is. See? So if I hover this, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see it. If I hover this item over here, this health pack looking thing, this red potion is going to first get selected. Oh, but it didn't. But why not? It does over here. Oh, there it is. Right? And the reason why that happens is because my selection logic told it to grab focus on that. So in order to get rid of that bug, I have to come up with a new way to do the selection. Or like I said, I can add that third enum state that just unlocks all the button selections and lets the mouse do its thing naturally. And that way we don't get in the way of what mouse normally does. I'm okay with this for now. The other thing I could do is sort of disable this mode thing. I don't know, but if it doesn't have a mode, then it's weird switching between them. Basically, what I'm thinking is when you touch the mouse and you start moving the mouse in general, it just disables, it just like enables focusing on all the UI elements here, all the buttons, not all the elements. And then when you touch a controller, any button or direction on a controller or a gamepad, it would switch it back to a specific mode. But I think in that case, it would be better to just add a third case to the enum. And then when you touch the mouse or you mouse over something, you know, it would just set mode to all. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, that's fine. See, I kind of like the way this one works better. The other thing too is I could figure out, you know, which thing it is that you're focusing. Because right now S will default focus something. Oh, so maybe the solution to that, hold on, I think I have an idea here. When we switch mode, I think that's the trick. We don't focus the button and switch mode, we focus the button on the button press, because that's the only time we need to set focus. So now, why doesn't that work? Why didn't that work? It switches mode. Oh, hold on. Oh, because, yes. Not new mode. Hold on. New mode. New mode equals cell. Else jump inventory. Button to focus. How is that any different? That's really the same. Oh, hold on. Let's change this. Use the same source of truth. But I don't think that changes the rest of this code. Oh, for some reason it did. Don't know. There we go. That was easy to fix. Nice. Now it looks good and feels good. Cool. Cool. There we go. Yeah, that makes sense, right? The button focus should be coupled to the button press event, not the mouse events. Not all mode switch events, basically. Okay. Yeah, and we didn't have to add a tremendous amount of code to get that happening either. Okay, shop fix unable to focus. To set shop mode from mouse. Right, easy peasy. Okay, so let me take a look at lock keyboard, controller navigation. That was the only thing we did so far. Current bid price. Yeah, that's a really good price for this machine. Only thing is the BIOS is locked, so I don't know if I'll be able to figure out how to unlock it. I think it should be easy. But yeah, an i7-10700 is pretty good. Because, like, my current computer is a 10900, right? So that's actually pretty good. That's actually really good. Oh my god, that's actually insane now that I'm thinking about it. I could probably easily turn that also into a gaming station too, like TV gaming, and run Proxmox on it. That would be insane. I'm thinking about setting up a uh, like a local home server to run some VMs. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to use it for yet, but one of the things I wanted to use it for was, in addition to running whatever services I run on there, I would also um, have a Windows VM on there for playing games on the TV. Like not super demanding games, maybe if it's in a VM. But I think performance. I think I can get decent performance on a VM, from what I've heard. I mean, I've kind of seen it also. I've seen like decent performance, but I had some weird sound issues when I tried it on my older machine. Okay, I think I'm just gonna call it here because I've been going for about 2 hours now. I think that's enough for me. So I'm gonna take a break because I want to eat lunch soon. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna want to eat. And I'm gonna want to exercise. Oh, I just noticed that my arms are feeling pretty good. The soreness has gone down quite a bit. Anyways, okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a break. This is a good stopping point for me. Let's see what's the next. What are the next things we said we are gonna do? Add error messages, clean up the bool functions, combine the wallet, and then yeah, we kind of have to do all that stuff before we chart out the new class structure and then determine whether or not this is like a dependency, whether or not we have to do that. Right, and these are dependencies of all these. Okay. It looks good. So tomorrow we'll be back for probably about another hour or two of live dev work, and I'll work on adding error messages, and then we'll clean up the Boolean stuff, which I'm definitely going to get rid of. Maybe we'll combine this wallet. Maybe what I should do is chart out the class structure before I do that. And then make decisions on whether or not we want to do this stuff. That seems to make more sense to me. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Let me see if I know anybody who's doing a dev stream right now. I bet I do. I bet I do. Let me go over to, well, on Twitch anyways. We can raid someone on Twitch. Let me see who is online. Bashy's online. Okay, yeah, Meeks is probably doing something. Not the real Vash, but Meeks. Yep, there's Meeks. Okay. Okay, Meeks. We're going to raid Meeks. I have to sign in. Oh, I am signed in. And then we're going to hop off on YouTube and everything. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time. Peace. Hold on. Let me see where this goes. There we go. All right, let's do that.